Om Gam Ganapatye Namaha. Kaliyugada Kalpataru, the fifth delight. Shri Raghavendra Gurusarvabhauma. Chapter 118. History of Mantralaya. After departing from Adavani, Shri Guru Rajaru arrived at Mantralaya. Diwan Venkana accompanied him. Venkana summoned the village headman and prominent residents and conveyed the message that the Nawab had donated the village of Mantralaya, which was previously under the Qazi Sahib, to Sri Rayaru. He informed them that henceforth the village belonging to Sri Rayaru, and by the Nawab's decree, everyone was to conduct themselves according to the Guru's guidance. Thus, Mantralaya village was formally handed over to Sri Rayaru. That same evening, Sri Guru Rajaru called his close associates and Venkana and shared his future plans. He expressed his aspiration to install his family deity Sri Venkateshwara in Mantralaya and to establish it as a great spiritual center in India. He instructed Venkana to build a large temple for Sri Venkateshwara for his daily worship and also construct multiple residences to accommodate his disciples, scholars and staff as quickly as possible. Venkana humbly accepted this great responsibility and promised to fulfill it with joy. He stayed back in Mantralaya to manage the planning and oversee the construction of the Sri Venkateshwara temple and accompanying homes. The next day, Sri Rayaru, accompanied by Venkana went to a spacious open field near the banks of the Tungabhadra. He pointed out at a particular spot and instructed that the ground be dug up at that location. Under Venkanapan's supervision, excavation began. When they had dug about 4 to 6 feet, an extraordinary sight appeared. Once the earth was cleared, it was revealed to be a large homokunda, that is sacrificial fire altar. Many items used in Vedic rituals and yagas were also found in the same location. As per Sri Rayaru's instruction, the excavation was stopped there. Venkana sent word to the workers to halt the digging and personally return to the Guru's side to report the findings. Venkana, Mahaswami, you have instructed us to dig here, and now a homokunda has been discovered. This is truly astonishing. I don't understand the secret behind this. Kindly bless me by explaining it. Sri Rayaru smilingly, Venkana, do you remember that in Adavani we told you we desired only the village of Mantralaya and would explain the reason later? Venkana, yes Swami, I remember it well. Rayaru, there is a great reason why we sought this village. You all thought this was a remote and insignificant place, but in truth, this is supremely sacred land. Its glory is boundless. It is Mantrasiddhi Kshetra, that is a place where mantras bear fruit. Long ago, in the Krita Yuga, Prahlada Rajaru, the great Vaishnava king, conducted numerous yagnas and yagas here for the pleasure of Lord Sri Hari. The Homokunda we have just unearthed is the very yagna altar where Prahlada Maharajaru performed those sacred rituals. Because of those yagnas, this land has become so holy that no force in the world can subdue it. It is invincible. That was in the Krita Yuga. Now hear about the Treta Yuga. During that age, Lord Narayana incarnated as Sri Rama for the destruction of the wicked and the protection of the virtuous. When Sri Rama, obeying his father's command, went into exile with Sita and Lakshmana, the demon Ramana abducted a replica of Sita. In search of her, Rama wandered with Lakshmana through many places. At one point, he arrived at this very spot and rested here briefly before continuing on. Because of the dust from the feet of Sri Rama and Lakshmana, this land became even more sanctified. Now, listen about Dwapar Yuga, Venkana. At that time, this region belonged to the kingdom of Anusalva. After the Kurukshetra war, when the Pandavas had won and Yudhishthira was crowned, he became dejected due to the destruction of so many revered elders, relatives and sages. Sri Krishna advised him to perform an Ashwamedha Yagna, that is horse sacrifice, for expectation and mental peace. Yudhishthira, accepting the advice, began preparations, consecrated the Yagna horse and sent it off ceremonially. Arjuna, along with an army, followed the horse for its protection. As the horse wandered across many lands, it eventually reached this place. Here the warrior Anusalva captured the horse. This led to a fierce battle between Arjuna and Anusalva right here in this place. Although Arjuna had conquered many worlds, he could not defeat Anusalva here. Distressed and humiliated, Arjuna meditated on Sri Krishna, the Lord who had proclaimed, "The Pandavas are my very life," heard his plea and appeared instantly at this very location. Arjuna prostrated before Krishna Paramatma and narrated everything, begging for victory. With a gentle smile, Krishna consoled Arjuna and explained the significance of this land. "Arjuna, do not worry about not being able to defeat Anusalva. He is standing on land made sacred by Prahlada Maharajaru, ancient yagnas. This is Yagnakunda of immense purity and sanctity. That is why you cannot defeat him, not because of his strength, but because of the power of this holy kshetra. Even you or anyone else in this world cannot win a battle here. He is invincible, not by might, but by the glory of this place. Partha, no matter how many times you try to fight, you will not win until he is moved away from this spot. Now we must use a different strategy to win. Dhananjaya, observe now the power of my Yogamaya." Thus saying, Sri Krishna invoked his yogic powers and in a split second caused Anusalva to be moved from the Yagnakunda. He then had Arjuna's chariot stationed at this exact sacred spot. Truly, Lord Krishna, the divine director of the cosmic play. Then again, the battle between Arjuna and Anusalva resumed. Astonishingly, within a moment, Arjuna defeated Anusalva. Anusalva bowed to Sri Krishna and Arjuna, offered gifts in surrender, and returned the Yagna horse. He also revealed that when Ravana had abducted what appeared to be Sita, it was not the real Sita, but a woman named Vedavati, made to look like her. The real Sita had been taken by Agnideva to his celestial realm. Arjuna accepted the explanation and continued on with the Yagna horse. Thus, this sacred land was sanctified by the divine presence of the foot dust of Nara and Narayana, that is, Arjuna and Sri Krishna. While Venkadapan stood in awe, hands folded, overwhelmed by this divine narration, Sri Rayaru smiled and continued. That's not all. In Kaliyuga, this region came under the Rashtrakutas, and later, during the glory days of Vijayanagara Empire, centered in Hampi, known as the land of Lord Hanumanta, the area became part of the Kannada Empire. During this period, the kings who ruled with dharma and were deeply influenced by spirituality and virtue of our forefathers, Shri Vibhudendra Tirtharu Swamigalu, the presiding head of the Shri Madhvamata, knowing the sanctity of this place, then donated this very village to Shri Vibhudendra Tirtharu. Shri Vibhudendra Tirtharu, aware of the greatness of this sacred Yagna altar, performed intense penance here and became the recipient of Sri Hari's divine grace. But after the fall of Vijayanagar, the land came under the rule of the Bijapur Sultans and the village was lost from the Mahasamsthana's hands. That is why we came to Adavani and reclaimed the same sacred village through the donation from Nawab, because this land was once ours. Venkana, with the yagnas of Prahalada, the foot dust of Sri Rama and Lakshmana, the presence of Sri Krishna and Arjuna, and the holy waves of Tungabhadra, this land has become a supreme mantra siddhi kshetra. Therefore, we have resolved to enter Vrindavana at this very place, perform penance for the welfare of the world, and fulfill Sri Hari's will. Do you now understand the glory and mystery of Mantralaya? Keep this a secret, Venkana. In all the work that lies ahead, you will play a central role and receiving the special grace of Sri Hari and Vayu. Hearing these words, Venkannapant was overwhelmed and tears of bliss flowed from his eyes. But learning that Sri Rayaru would enter Vrindavana, he was deeply grieved. He stood with a sorrowful face, unable to speak. Seeing this, Sri Rayaru smiled again and said, Venkanna, do not be troubled. I understand the sorrow in your heart. But this is not just our wish. This is the decree of destiny, the will of Sri Hari and the command of Sri Vayudeva. No one can go against it. You seem to think that by saying I'll enter Vrindavana, I mean I will give up my body. No, Venkanna, I will not die. I will enter the Vrindavana alive with this very body and remain there for 700 years. Continue to work for the welfare of the world. This village will become famous as Sri Mantralaya Kshetra. Scholars and lay people alike those suffering from physical and mental illness, those earning for children, wealth, knowledge, health, long life, or any other wish, millions of devotees will journey here and receive fulfillment. That is the well of Sri Hari and Vayu, so do not worry. With these words, Sri Rayaru consoled Venkanapant and then graciously returned with him to rest. This narration is just not historical account, but a profound spiritual prophecy laying the foundation for Sri Raghavendra Swamigulu's Vrindavana Pravesha and the eternal glory of Mantralaya. Hari Om. Om Sri Krishnarpanamastu.